Here we are. Enlarge that. What a surprise. Good morning, gentlemen. Here we go. Let's have a look. Check. Frame rate. No. Wi-Fi okay. Mic on. Looks like we're good to go. Okay. Let's get this on the road. Okay, if we zoom in a bit more, I'm not sure if I can. Focus should be this area. Let's tip it up a bit. Sorry about jiggling here. There we go. Good morning, everybody. After the last few days of sort of quite chaotic, mixed up work here, this should be a couple of days now of settled, peaceful work. No more speeches and presentations planned. Soma no Furudairi. I don't know what that is, I'm sorry. Soma no Furudairi. Is that an anime, a manga, a game? I'm sorry, I don't know the reference. I'm not sure if that's showing ignorance about something I should know about. I don't know, I'm sorry. Have I cut my fingers? Not in recent memory, you know. If you think about it, when you look at what I'm doing here, I'm rarely putting my fingers in the way of the blade. I'm holding the blade here, you know. There's no way it's going to pop out of the wood and run across my hand. No, there's no blood on these blocks. I don't remember there ever being such a thing. So. It's all really controlled force. That's perhaps not apparent when you're looking at it, you know. We were talking about this a while ago. The wood, when you're carving a piece of wood that's got summer, winter, it's hard, soft, hard, soft. If you did it freehand, it's going to be hard, tight jump into the soft. You'll be jerking all over the place. We don't do it freehand. I mean, I'm totally supporting this blade. There's no freehand motions at all. Utagawa Kuniyoshi print, So Manu Furu Dairi. Yeah, we're talking about an old story, an old historical reference. My apologies not for not knowing it, I'm sorry. But as far as what work we can do in this workshop now, it's pretty much the projects we've got going. Is very few new things we could take on right now. We're so much jammed up with trying to take care of the commitments we already have. I get emails, not daily, but regularly, frequently, from people who would like us to make prints of their art, and we just can't take on new projects at the moment. The block I'm cutting right now, you've seen a couple of leaves in the owl. This is the beige block. It's the light, is it visible? It's the lighter color on the owl, which grows under the brown. And it's got a couple of leaves which will which will go on top of the background. These other leaves are a darker brown. We'll get to them in a minute. Do I watch anime? I haven't watched any anime since my kids lived here. I'm sorry. Stuff like My Neighbor Totoro or whatever. How many years ago is that? 25 something. Again, it's disappointing, whatever. I'm not part of that world. I just don't have any space in my brain or time or whatever for anything but the projects that are in front of us. We were chatting about this the other day. Is my life a real sad life seen from outside, or is it extremely focused or whatever? I don't play these video games. I don't watch TV. I don't have a TV. I just do this stuff. I'm sorry. So if you're asking, opinions and ideas and whatever's about contemporary stuff, I just don't know anything about it. I used to read books, those things that have covers and you open and the pages turn. I used to be a vociferous reader. Can't remember the last time I opened one now. When I was tracing this the other day, some of you might have been here, I don't know. I was looking at the original thing here. I'm just drawing with the pen on it, Clearly not making any, not tracing, not making any attempt to match this stroke for stroke. The idea being that once the knife gets here, this will cut now natural shapes. So although I couldn't draw them, I can cut something that looks sensible here. Maybe that's worth it if there's new people in the stream here just for a second. What we've got, there's an image. Let me zoom back out of it. This is an image of a very cheap print published back in the Edo period. It'll be in the 1860s, I guess, or somewhere on there. Got my shadow of my lens here. It was a very cheap production. It was an album apparently made with pictures of different kinds of birds in different scenery. And it was an extremely toss-off production. And the reason we're doing this one now is we need a kind of a pleasant, I can't say cute, is that the right word? We need a pleasant woodblock design in what we call hagaki size, the Japanese postcard size. That's this size here. For our series of publications here, and every year, when it comes to this time of the year, we need one for our gift page. A lot of people look for small gifts for friends or Aunt Ellen or whatever. And we do one of these prints each year. And this print is being prepared, cut, and it'll be printed soon for that specific use on our webpage. Here's the nose. And because these sort of images are long out of copyright, they're in public domain, there's no restrictions on how to use these things, So the very small adaptations I'm making with this are not a problem at all. And the fact that I can use it, it's not a copyright problem at all. From the middle 1800s, there are no copyrights. The designer's name is Hiroshige, Utagawa Hiroshige, and he was famous for a couple of things: landscape and also nature prints, kacho-e, bird flower prints, literally bird flower prints. I heard the sound that says there's a question in the box, so let me just finish there. Sweet, okay, fair enough. Hi. Which monitor? Here we are. Stream question. There's a generic question. Oh, quite long actually. I don't know if you popped it into the stream as well. I've been in Japan for many years. When I came to Japan, did I have any problems integrating, and how were people towards you? I've heard the Japanese can be unwelcoming. That doesn't match my experience at all. I know. I'm not sure how my experience is relevant or not, because I came first in the late 1970s, visited a couple of times, and then when we decided to move here, that was in the middle 1980s. And I didn't have a visa, actually. Like when I first came here to live, it was on a 3-month tourist visa, because I wasn't able to get I wanted like a culture visa to study printmaking and stuff like that. But they said no. The authorities said no. And it's because there's no like school or place you can go. If you're here to study flower arranging, you talk to a sensei, you get you pay money, get registered to school, ask for your visa, and away you go. But there's no such thing in place in the world of traditional woodblock printmaking, because it's not a legitimate, arts stuff. So I just came on a tourist visa, got it extended bit by bit by bit. And I had been somewhat concerned, and we've chatted about these things before in these streams, I had been somewhat concerned that the craftsmen, whoever I might come across or might find, I'd been concerned that they might be totally secretive, that you don't tell outsiders what's going on. And outsiders meaning not just foreigners, but people outside their own clique or group or whatever. And no, there's been almost none of that. For the most part, the craftsmen I met, they're appreciative of people who are trying to learn what's going on, and this thing is so much on its last legs now that there's really no secrets left anymore. There's things that they've forgotten how to do and what to do, but it's not really secretive. People tend to grab onto one story I told one day about one carver who didn't like me and he hid his tools when I came in the room and stuff. But that was really, really an exception. For the most part, nothing. The reason I wasn't here on Sunday was I gave a couple of presentations, light speeches and talks down in Yokohama. Gallery talk kind of thing. And the people there this is very, very typical of everything I've had for all these 30-odd years, They listen, they're interested in what's going on, and they're really, really appreciative that somebody has looked into this, has studied this, can learn deep stuff about it, and can show them the things that they didn't know. And the fact that I'm a foreigner is next to irrelevant. Well, for them it adds a little bit of a, a frisson. They can hear this foreigner tell them about this old Edo stuff that they had forgotten about. So no, people are appreciative. And as far as general life goes, there's no restrictions here in Japan at all. I bought my home without having to go through any legal hoops or anything. I pay my taxes, I pay my health insurance, I get benefits from it. I chose not to join the pension plan because I came when I was too old to do that in a sensible way. So I don't have a pension here. And my legal rights, they're almost the same as the Japanese. I can't vote, because in Japan, voting is for citizens only, not for residents. And that's funny, because I can't vote in Canada, because in Canada, voting is for residents, not citizens. So I can't vote there either. So here we go. Let's flip this over, just so you know what we're doing here. These blocks, there's going to be, am I still zoomed out? Soka. There's a key block, which I carved over the course of the last week or so. should have been a day's work, but it took a week or so because of everything that's going on. The key block. Again, this is for people that haven't seen what's going on. So the design had black parts. It had feathers on the owl, a bit of tree, a bit of stuff. So I carved the black areas onto a key block. Then on the stream here the other day, I printed that key block and transferred it onto 4 separate sheets of paper. And those are going to be the guides for the color blocks. And the one I just finished carving now is the sand area under the owl, and it's also a few leaves that are going to be sort of sandy. Flipping it over now, I don't know if we can see it. The yellow highlighter is done, but it's going to be the dark brown, because it'll be the brown on the top of the owl, the branches. Okay. Brown on the owl, the branches, and more leaf shapes. Then as we talk today, there's going to be 2 more blocks. There's going to be a block for the green leaves, and there'll be a block which will be for the background color, which I'll start carving. And if you were here the other day, you might think, David's now going to start carving the background block? Wait a minute. Explain that as we get to it an hour or so from now. Let's keep going here. So it'll be 5 faces. It's 3 pieces of wood, and there will be 5 block faces altogether. Japanese, can I earn citizenship? It's not earned. I know there's no real guidelines published for what to do to get citizenship. It's very clear right now that if I applied for it, I can make an application. You can apply to become a Japanese citizen. If I had done that the day after I landed here, they would just throw it away, because that's not how it works. But I've been living here steadily with no break now since 1986. So if I applied for it, almost certainly they would give it to me. And the application would be, the usual stuff, who you are, what you're doing, why you want this, what's going on. Show them, why this makes a difference in what you want to do. Then they do the background check thing. They'll send the police around to your neighbors. They did this when I became a permanent resident. They do a background check on you. They're not stupid here. They'd like to sort of, there's people they would like living here, and there's people they wouldn't like living here. So fair enough. And when I applied for permanent residence, I went through this at a light level. If I had been applying for citizenship, you go through it at a bit of a more serious level. And you have to get it and organize yourself a name in Japanese characters and stuff like that. So I would have to take a name. And almost certainly they would give this to me. But there's been no real advantage for me to do that. I'm not in any way thinking of applying for citizenship. Because of the look at my face. I'm a foreigner. I'm not Japanese. And to put this badge on myself, look at this, I'm Japanese. It's just a bizarre thing that I just don't want to be part of, I know I'm not born here as a Japanese. It's my home. I'll stay here on that basis, I don't have any problems with that. And it seems to me to be silly to try and put that badge on. Look at me, I am now a Japanese. Because, I'm not. So. But yeah, at this point now, almost certainly they would give it to me. Okay, here's this tree. Where do I start? Start on the end here. My kids are, of course, they were born in Canada, but because they were born to a Japanese mother, they get Japanese citizenship by being born to a Japanese person, even though they weren't born in Japan. They're Canadians by virtue of being born in Canada, plus a Canadian father. I guess I'm not sure the legal basis of it. But. So they have both. I have 2. I was born in Britain, so I'm whatever you call it, a British subject. I forget the name. And then we became Canadians, so I have 2. Now what they've done with this thing, this is interesting. When they did their first, this is a sort of a painterly style email tone. You can guess what that one's from. They did this in quite a painterly style. It's not a clean, sharp, crisp ukiyo-e in the traditional sense. You know, the brown that's behind these tree branches, it bumps out. Partly because of carelessness, partly it's style. There's no outlines here that we're painting delicately in the outlines. Very painterly. The brush, the black too, has been given brush strokes, and I'll be doing that. I'll be scratching up some of this stuff. After I do a test printing, I'll be coming back to many of these blocks, especially the key block, and scratching it up and distressing it. I see my name in the thread here, but I don't know. Growing the stream. I've got a lot of stream people. I don't know. What name would you take? Yeah. This is funny. I know we've told this joke here. How many times can I tell the same jokes on Twitch? I don't know. Different people every day. Like you're watching the repeat of a TV program every day. It's the same program. The name I would take, I don't know. I mean, there's a great joke about this. I know. My main job here now, it's become I'm a carver of woodblock prints. So, you know, in the old days, same in not just in Japan, anywhere, right? Somebody called Jack Smith. His ancestor must have been a smith, a blacksmith. You know, our names, many of our names came from the jobs we were doing back in the old days. You know, and I'm a carver here, so okay, whatever. The verb for this is horu and hori. What I am as a noun. I am a horishi, the person who does carving. And it's interesting, it's the same sound as the person who's a tattoo artist. He is also a horishi, which perhaps many of you have heard of. You know, so anyway, if I was going to take the kanji for my name, maybe I would take two kanji perhaps. The first one would be horu, hori, because that's my job. But then also, I'd like to keep my own name, you know, heck. I don't want to just throw away my total identity. My name is Bo. And as you know, we can do, you know, phonetics. So my name here in Japanese in sound is Buru. So let's combine them. Let's take a kanji and phonetics, and I can call myself Horiburu. Whether they would go for that or not, I don't quite know, but let's give it a try maybe. Who knows? Pleased to meet you. I'm Horiburu. But as I said, I've got no plans to do this, you know. I like who I am. You grow up with your identity, it's okay. I'm a Canadian boy with tiny percent of British. 5 years I was in Britain, so tiny bit thrown in. And my home is here, that's enough, it's okay. I don't need to pretend that I'm Japanese. But it might be worth it just for that name. Pleased to meet you, I'm Horiburu. We'll leave this long, I don't know how long it is, so we'll leave it long now. We do test printing, we'll slice it off to the right length. Horishine, that's the kanji, yes, that's the right one. So, where did you live in Britain? I was born in Halifax, Yorkshire. They tell me, it's not like I remember this, 1951, born in Yorkshire, Halifax, Yorkshire. And my parents moved. He was a musician in a what they called a dance band at the time. He was actually his band was famous. It was the Oscar Rabin Band. He played baritone sax in it. So most of their work was in London, so the family moved to London when I was a few months old. So I grew up for the first 5 years in Leytonstone, on Richmond Road in Leytonstone. I googled it recently to have a look at the house. It's still there. So yeah, 5 years in Britain, 30 years in Canada, and now, I don't even know, 32 or something. 32 years in Japan. We've got pictures of me when I'm like 4 years old in London going to some preparatory school. My God, the little boy in his hat and short pants and blazer. Who's that? Where am I here? Just a minute. This is dark brown I'm carving. Okay, just come straight across. It's all right. It's tough to watch this stream at the same thing, same time. What's this? People from Yorkshire are aliens? I don't know anything about that. I left there when I was 3 months old, so I'll take what I can get and I'll leave what I don't need. So, what is this? What are the print parties like? You better. There must be some people on the stream here who have been to some of them. I know. What can I say? I know we've got wood blocks and brushes and pigments and paints and all that stuff laid out on the table. And it's not a lecture, it's nothing formal, absolutely not at all. We really try and make it a party type mood. There's no beer, I'm sorry, we're not allowed to do that. But and after a minute, 1 or 2 or 3 minutes of explanation on what's going on and how to hold the paper in a way, we just go at it. And it's anywhere from 1 person to 4, maybe 5 if we push it. And you make your own prints, and it works out quite successful. We've organized it in a way that people can actually do it. It sounds not possible. People in Japan told us we wouldn't be able to do this. You can't actually make real woodblock prints in 1 hour on your first day. It's impossible because we need years of training. Well, it turns out you don't need years of training. If there's a nice, good, solid base prepared and a couple of people to guide you through it, and you turn out with some. If you're anything except the hugely most clumsiest person on the planet, you turn out with a couple of nice prints at the end of the session. No class, no lecture, nothing formal. There must be somebody in the stream who's done it. Where were we? Cherry. So the wood blocks, yes. As you can see on the edge of this, it's a cherry block at the top, and we use a birch ply lamination in the middle and cherry back at the bottom. So from the point of view of the pigment and paper and baron or whatever, it's all a real cherry block, but it's far, far, far more stable than the way they're traditionally made, which was just one solid block called Mokuhankan in Japanese. There's a couple of reasons we do this. We really, really, really can't get enough good wood these days. So when we get a piece, instead of using it solid, we slice it like this. So we can get, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces instead of 1 face. And the other is it's so much more stable. They don't warp, they don't split, they don't crack. This is absolutely an innovation, if that's the right word, that they would have used in the old days. So, we're doing the traditional methods, but there are a couple of things along the way that will change because they don't affect the way that we make prints. We're not going to laser carve these because that would just grossly change the whole thing of what we're doing. So no lasers, but the switch from solid wood to laminated wood is one that I have no trouble with whatsoever. We chat about this off and on during these streams, and it comes up, what's the same and what's changed, and the party reservations, you know, we're flooded now. October is just insane. I forget, we did 19 people on Monday. 19. And today I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 11 scheduled for today so far. What am I doing here? Can't see it. Am I on view? In view? CNC machine, hey, whatever. I know there's lots of technologies either here or coming up. Laser carving, CNC machines, and a 3D printing would be a way to make these blocks, of course. Yeah. There's people experimenting with it already. There's a young French guy here a couple months back. He's using a laser for the details and cutting by hand the wide spaces, but he's thinking about moving to CNC for that. So his blocks would be done totally by machine, because what he likes to do is printing. You know? So there's going to be a whole new generation of people coming along who are mixing these new technologies. You know? For us, I'm just going to let it go by. You know, we've talked about this many times. It's just not what our pleasure is in using the old techniques. You know, as far as the printing business goes, there's lots of people who have modernized it from Gutenberg all the way up. That's fine. They've got their place in the world. And our little workshop here has our place in the world. So it's not that we don't know that there are better ways to do it. We just like to do it this way. And the result has a wonderful charm and beautiful appearance that people enjoy. And so as long as we're enjoying making it and people enjoy owning it and having it, then we're okay. We don't have to worry so much about how can it be improved or made more efficient or whatever, you know. That's an interesting question too, efficiency. What I'm doing now looks to be hugely, hugely, hugely inefficient. You've seen me over the past couple of days, whatever, carving that key block dot by dot by dot. It seems bizarrely inefficient. I didn't keep track of the hours on this thing, but just in general terms, for example, when I was doing the Surimono album series, it's a set of 5 prints, a set of 50 prints I made, and it was done over a 5-year period. So 10 a year for 5 years. I took January sort of off for exhibitions, and I took the summers off to go with my kids to the old family home. So it's almost like one a month. I did 10 prints in a 12-month span with bits of time off in the middle. So one a month. And I got the design ready, carved all the details of the blocks over a period of a couple of weeks, got the paper out, printed 200 copies of each one over the next couple of weeks, all at this extremely slow, picky, tiny rate. But the point I'm getting at is that it was inefficient in anybody's modern calculations. But each month I finished a print, and I made 200 of them, and they were selling for $60 each at that time. And I sold most of them. Those series were almost sold out. So do the math. 200 at $60. This is back in like 2002 or something. And I was working by myself. I had no employees. I had to buy paper. I had to buy wood, whatever. It was a really, really, really nice, peaceful, quiet way to make a living. I had a mortgage, bought my house, sent my kids to school. So what does it mean to be efficient and not to be efficient, you know? I guess somebody with a stopwatch and the time is money could have come along. Dave, if you'd have had a laser, you could have made 6 prints each month and you could have been a millionaire. You could have had a Rolls Royce in the backyard, you know. I'm like, why are we here? What are we doing with our lives and whatever? And making 1 print each month, very beautifully, spending my time peacefully and quietly. It's as efficient as it needs to be. I heard the question sound, right? Where are we? Sorry, I can't possibly catch all that stream. The question is. Displaying the prints. This is a open. Somebody's asking they'd like to get one of our prints, perhaps thinking about it, but no. How do you display these prints? I don't know. There's a bit of a paradox involved here. You know, many Western people are looking at this stuff, and we have this tradition in Western homes of, you know, walls and frames and putting pictures on the walls and stuff like that. And when people look at these Japanese prints, that's quite frequently the way that they look at them and how to present them. And there's a bit of a paradox because back in the old days in Japan, there was no such thing as hanging a print on a wall per se with a light on it and there's a frame and this is an artwork. These things were never done that way. This little one I'm doing right now, the original one, they were slightly larger. This is too big and this is too small. It was the real size was in between these two things. And they came in a set, and people would have perhaps bought the set, or just the one that they liked, whatever. They would have taken it home, and they would have kept it inside maybe a little book and a kind of album or something. Nobody would ever have put it on the wall or hung it up. I think I've done this one. Just a second, let me check here. That's done. The brown is there, the brown is there, the brown is there. Got that leaf, got that, got that. Right, flip it over, that back side's done. Here we go, let's go to another one. This is going to be the green leaves, deep green leaves. Anyway, sorry, get sidetracked. I know. So there was no displaying of these things. And it turns out that there's an interesting thing that happens when you look at these prints, because they're not, you know, mechanically printed by machines on flat paper, because they're printed by hand on a rich, soft, thick paper, they have a three-dimensional aspect to them. We talk about this in our shop all the time. We've got them displayed in the shop under a side light, where you put the print on the, it's a copy, not a print, you put the print on a flat surface, the side light comes across and you can see it beautifully, the texture and the feeling and the mood of the thing. So you're looking at not just the picture image, but the thing as an object. So there's a kind of a paradox here, which everybody who comes and visits this shop who wants to take some of our prints has to face. They look best when they're not framed up on a wall, but on a low table or held in the hand in an area where there's nice side light. You could take it to a window, or there's a desk lamp, or a spotlight coming down from the ceiling or whatever. And yet that's not the way typical people in our Western society want to look at these things. So a long bumbly answer to the question, you know, for us, if you want to see these things in the most beautiful way possible, you don't frame them and put them up on a wall. You keep them in a portfolio or a drawer or something. When you want to bring them out, you've got your desk lamp or near a north-facing window. Lay it on the table and, oh my God, it's so beautiful. But it doesn't fit the living pattern. Where's the top of this thing? Just a minute. Okay, same thing. I'll cut this too large and we'll cut it back after we find out where the border is. Am I still in the camera? Good. Wait, what's this? Somebody says I'm supposed to be sleeping. Well, is this that interesting? I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting for me, but this is my job, you know, this is my work, so I'm still a bit, not amazed, that's the wrong word, but I still, you know, this Twitch thing, you know, the numbers of people who sit there and watch this, and, you know, half of me, I'm laughing at this thing, half of me wants to say, can't you find anything better to do? And half of me says, well, I guess maybe it is a bit interesting, I don't know, so... It does seem that a number of people who've been watching this there's the email requests for what tools do I get and stuff like that. It does seem that it's encouraging interest in this craft, so if that turns out to be a side effect of this, then great, wonderful. You know, the more people that do this, or the more people that start messing around with this, the better our supply chain problems will become, you know. We've talked about this many, many times. I can't get good wood, not because all the trees are gone, like with Brazilian rosewood or something. I can't get good wood because not enough people are looking for this wood, so there's no supply chain left. There's trees out there in the mountains, and they just live and die on their own time without being harvested, you know. Nothing wrong with that, but the point being there is good wood out there available that could be used, you know. And that's interesting too, you know, the mountain cherry trees, Yamazakura, that we need, I said harvesting, is that the right word? I guess so. You know, they're not planted for this, they're just growing in the mountains naturally. And interestingly enough, we need them. The way we would want to cut them and get them down is just before they begin to rot out and die anyway. So a tree left alone starts to get to its natural age, it starts to rot on the inside from the bottom, and then eventually just dies and falls over. If we can catch it just before that point, haul it down and use the wood to make these beautiful objects, I don't see that as a negative in any way whatsoever. You know. There's no rainforest being ripped up to death. It's one tree on a mountainside among thousands of others. The Yamazakura trees, they don't grow in groups and plantations. They're just single seeds that have, you know, dropped up in the mountains. And in the old days, when woodblock printmaking was a really big deal, they were professional people who walked through the mountains looking for good Yamazakura trees. They'd find one, they'd contact the landowner, make arrangements to buy it. Then you'd get in there and haul it down. There was no helicopter logging. It was, you know, get in there, chop it up into pieces that were manageable, and bring it back to the lumberyards. So it really, really was. I mean, the word ecological and stuff wasn't there back in those days, but it really was very friendly. There was no mass cutting, mass logging, smashing the place. And the trees were cut just before they died. So, I mean, perfect situation. You know. But now, because there's so little demand for them, just me and one or two other workshops, that's it. There's no supply chain. It's gone. there's Sosumi, the question. Let me finish this leaf. What is this I'm doing? Reading. Oh, I'm confused anyway. Let's have a look. How big is Patreon's share of stuff? They take 5%, and the credit card company takes 3% or so. So we lose about 8 or 9. The gist of the speeches you gave in that museum. You mean like last Sunday? Oh, pigment questions. Okay, let's try and add these in. Somebody's asking about what I was talking about on Sunday, and this was interesting. I know the way, how can I explain this without being too rambly? An event like that, they had some of my prints on display on the wall, and the people who are coming to a thing like that, there's no way we want to get involved in any kind of lecture situation. Good afternoon, I'm David Bull. I'm going to talk to you about ukiyo, which started in 1693 and blah, 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 blah. It's nothing like that. I've learned over the years that what they want to hear from me is, what the hell is going on? Who are you and why are you doing this? And why have you picked up an interest in this thing that we, the Japanese, have thrown away? That's the story they want to hear. And as it turned out, I was lucky on Sunday. The venue wasn't so large, and the maximum number of people was only about, I don't know, 25, 30, something like that. It's a small deal. So as soon as I saw this, we changed the thing. Instead of me standing at a podium talking to them, we rearranged it quickly. And let's get these chairs, let's put them in this group here. I'll sit at this corner. You guys sit around me in this semicircle of chairs. And I started not speechifying, but just started explaining a couple of things and leaving it, encouraging them to ask. And somebody asked a question and somebody else asked a question. We had a great time responding exactly, just actually sort of what we're doing right here, right now. So what did we talk about? I can't tell you, other than that it was sort of the same kind of thing we're talking about now. People throwing questions out about what we're doing. But as I said, mostly with the thought, they're trying to figure out, why do you do this? What are you doing, And I can mention one episode from the speech, from the presentation, because it really, really highlights what actually is happening here. And I asked them, have you ever heard of a place called Cremona? And they're all like, of course they've heard of Cremona. That's Italy. That's where Stradivari did his thing with the violins, And it turns out that in Cremona these days, I guess I've never been there, but it's clear what it is. You walk down, the streets, and there are shops and schools and workshops and all kinds of stuff where people are making violins, either teaching how to make violins. There are violin schools. There are, the Academy of Stradivari Violin Making or whatever. And people from all over the world, young people, come to learn how to make violins there. And I asked them, just imagine, I'm almost certain there's Taro Suzuki, a young Japanese boy, has gone over there to learn how to make violins, because of course that's the way it works. People from all over the world go there. And then I asked them, imagine that young Taro Suzuki starts at this school on Monday morning. What's going to be on the Italian news that evening? And they're like, what are you talking about? And the Italian news is not going to look at Taro Suzuki. They could care less that a young Japanese boy has come over here to learn violin making. It's sort of, of course, people from all over the world come here. Why is this newsworthy? And in Italy, I'm using this just as one example, it's not newsworthy. They're so confident and full of their own culture and stuff like that, well, of course Japanese come here to learn it. It's so cool. Of course they come here. It's not news. But here in Japan, it's not like that. And the story, the episode I told him, which was totally true, is you go back to 1989, I made the first print in that 100 poets, 10 years series to make 100 poets. I made one print, and I sent out a little kind of flyer to the media. Woodblock, Canadian woodblock printmaker David Bull announces a 10-year project to make woodblock prints of the famous Katsukawa Shinsho Shakunishu, blah, 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 blah. And within days, I was on the evening news. No exaggeration. Yomiuri newspaper, NHK News, Mainichi newspaper. Because this is not Italy. This is a place that is super proud of those cultural things they did, but there's some kind of level of insecurity, is that the right word? That makes them really need this thing of foreigners to say, look how wonderful this is. I'm not talking about any individual person, I'm talking about the culture as a whole. There's something here that praises too much this thing that I do. And the easy pop psychology answer is that it's insecurity, that it needs to be praised from outside. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, but it's something like that. So I talked about this. I talked about Cremona in Tokyo. And they're all nodding, yeah, that's right, you know, so whatever. I don't know, whatever. Cork, no, it's wood, cherry wood. Please not. There was a second question which I've already done. Let me go back to it. Pigments, yeah. This is a big deal, totally different. I know somebody's asking about the pigments that were used in the old days as opposed to what we're doing now and what's going on. And this is the one area that what we're doing nowadays, making these reproductions and making these original prints, is almost totally, absolutely different from in the old days. In the old days, there's no there's no chemistry involved. There's no. It's what's the word? Natural. Just the stuff that was around them in their own world is what they were using. So when people were painting or making prints, whatever, a huge number of the pigments were of natural origin. Natural in the sense of whatever. They dig up a tree root, pulverize it, bring out a brown juice, and that becomes a brown pigment. Flower petals, indigo, obviously from a grown plant. They were almost all vegetable in origin from plants. And they were beautiful. They were really, really nice. They were beautiful. They were soft. They blended with the paper well. It was just, in a word, beautiful. But they were almost all extremely what they call fugitive, because they're, simply like vegetable proteins and stuff, whatever. They react with the air. They react with moisture, and they fade like crazy. And it didn't matter in the old days because the prints weren't being looked on as art. They weren't being preserved. Did I tell you that episode? I know there's some researchers who have really studied the literature and diaries and books and letters of the day in which people talk about stuff. And they've done an analysis of what the expected lifespan was of a typical ukiyo-e print back in the old days, the Great Wave or whatever. And their best guess on this thing is that once a print left the shop, a print like the Great Wave, typical lifespan was 10 days. And it sounds shocking to us, but remember, it wasn't art. It was just stuff. What's the lifespan of the newspaper you bought this afternoon? A magazine you'll buy today? Next to nothing. And that's what this stuff was like. So it didn't matter at all that the pigments didn't survive prolonged exposure. Not like there were bright lights on it anyway, but they didn't survive. Now we come through, starting from maybe the Meiji times, certainly into the 20th century. People are seeing these things now as art. They're being used, consumed in a totally different way. And if I used that tree root to make the brown for this, you're going to be happy the first day, happy the first week, a little less happy a month later, and a year later you're going to be pissed off at me because it's going to be a dead print with no color on it. So long story short, starting nearly 100 years back, printmakers switched to using what they call mineral pigments, and they're literally ground minerals. This is the Nihonga, called Iwa Enogu, stone colors. And the palette is quite different. You can still get your basic red, yellow, blue and stuff out of it, but the tones and tints feel quite different. But they survive. I mean, none of it would survive direct solar exposure. You hang this on the wall where the sun's going to catch it every day, and that's it. You're going to lose those colors, of course. But under normal illumination, normal exposure, it will last lifetimes. So I'm sorry, long rambling answer, but yeah, the pigments we use these days are very different. There are people here who are, exploring and preserving and trying to use the old pigments, but they're doing so, in a very specific corner. They're not making prints that are expected to survive a long time. Okay, now, bit of a sub-story here. I know when we were on the stream here, what day? I don't know what day it is, Wednesday. Before I went to that before I went to that thing on the weekend, I carved this block already, the background block. I'm not going to carve, I'm carving it yet, but what I'm doing, I already carved this one. Some of you might have seen this. And I don't know if I should tell this or not, but what I did was I started carving this. I carved the outlines, I carved the moon, I carved the owl, and I made a major, major screw up, which I realized what I was doing partway through, and I thought, oh, this is live stuff here. I've totally screwed up. Who is going to catch this? I'm going to be in trouble. It turned out I took a quick look at the stream and whatever, and nobody caught the mistake. Everybody just watched what I was doing. You know, it's okay. You're not here to try and catch me out, but it turned out that I screwed up big time. So I wasn't able to use that block. I just quickly put it aside and started doing something else during that particular stream. But I had to replace this. I'll show you what I did. I'll pretend to do it again. I was carving the background block, which is the block that's going to print the sky color here in this funny blue. So that block has to omit the moon, and it has to omit the owl shape. So what I did was the other day I did just what you see me do now. I carved along here. That's going to be waste. We're going to keep the background. I carved the moon like this. The moon is going to be waste, keep the background. And I did it backwards for the owl. I came around this way. I carved the owl shape in a way that would leave the owl and cut away the background color. The knife was going in this way when it should have gone in this way to keep the background and throw away the owl. So the block I finished there, right in front of all the people who were watching, was totally screwed up. And I couldn't just use it because I had cut this way, my knife had gone undercutting the sky area. I didn't throw it out. What I did was I washed it off. Here it is. There's the moon that's cut. There's the undercut on the owl. I just washed it off and put a different color on it because the areas that I need, those green leaves, don't conflict with the areas that I screwed up. So there we are on live TV. I screwed up big time and not one person noticed. And now you know the rest of the story. So let's do this now. Let's try and keep my focus here. There's the moon. It's out. I'm going to shut up for a minute. Hey, there's one more. Also, for those who were here the other day asking about the moon shape, we had a big back and forth. The moon in the original was carelessly cut. It's not round, it's an ellipse. It had corners. We went through a discussion, I made some samples, a bunch of stuff went back and forth. And I did a bunch of testing myself, and what I did was, I've probably thrown it away now. No, I cut some samples in paper, and I found one, made a curve that seemed to me to make sense. It's not round, it's also an ellipse, but what it has is it doesn't have the corners that spoiled the original one. So for those of you who are voting for an anatomically correct round moon, I'm sorry. For those of you who are voting for a moon that loomed a bit heavier over this owl, I can't say you won, it wasn't that kind of a discussion, but whatever. So that's what I decided to do. So it's different in a little sense from the original one. The original one really is a funny shape. It's got the corners don't even come close to matching anything that's like real life, but it has a loominess that I think I've caught, but I can't bear the idea of having corners in it, and I'm sorry, I just couldn't bear that. I had to make mine into an organic curve, even though it's not a perfect circle. And I think somebody mentioned in that thing too that when you get the moon seen from a distance down near the horizon, it doesn't look all that round either, so whatever. Now, let's do this thing again with the blue, and this time try and remember, do it the correct way. The wood to be maintained gets the flat side of the knife. The wood that'll be removed, the owl, this is coming out. What's the stream? Monetizing. Have I ever chipped the tip of the blade? Have I ever? I do it all the time. It may happen any moment now. Hold your breath. The blade chips all the time. It's just part of the work, you know. I know it's a discussion over there going on about the monetizing thing. I don't know. I know. We're doing okay, absolutely. Right now, we are not in any way in desperate need of funds and finances. We're holding together. I know the Patreon thing was designed for a very specific cause, to help me hire a person so that I could get away from my workbench, get away from my computer and get back to my workbench. And it has worked very, very well. That Patreon support, actually it's worked wider than I expected. It's already paying for the two or three, depends how you count them, people who are working here as trainees for the print parties. And the manager started October 1st. Contract-wise, he hasn't come. He'll be coming on Friday. Now, once we get settled on this, once the new manager gets settled and my own production builds up here, we may either ask the Patreon to stop, or we may give the people a choice and sort of redirect it to another project, because we have another project, a number of projects we would really, really like to establish. But because this is a personal business of mine, it's not a large corporation with a history, we have no access to bank financing. I can't get a loan. I'm 65, single guy here in Japan. And there's no way we could get bank financing. So over the course of the next few months, we'll put this to the Patreon supporters to maybe morph their support, now that I'm actually back to the bench, to morph their support into some different directions. We'll see. We'll put that up to them as time goes by. As for Twitch, we're doing it just for fun and just to show the work, and just to, you know, once I'm back at the bench, why not? Let's just show this and do this. And I don't know much about the Twitch ecosystem, and that people are asking me to monetize this so they can subscribe and stuff. And I'm a little bit torn. What I would love to do is make this more of a community, so that people can do the community things that Twitch people do here. But I am in no way going to ask a bunch of young people, who most of you are, to please give me money and help me do this. Because this is a business. I'm going to sell this print. There are going to be orders for it, you know. And I don't want to sort of ask for donations to help me make something that we're going to sell like this. So maybe there's inconsistencies in what I'm saying here. We're asking for support over on the Patreon side. And over here, this is just sort of what we do. So I haven't had much time to look around the rest of the Twitch ecosystem. If there's things I can do to help make this more of a community without asking you guys for money, then please show me and teach me and let me know how I can do that. But we're not here to ask a bunch of random people who like our work to please shell out. You know. Where am I? Talking is dangerous, to talk at the same time I'm doing this, Where do we come here? The background blue comes up into this wood. The claws are still blue. Okay. So if what I've said is inconsistent, I'm sorry. We're getting along okay. We're a young business that's growing, struggling sometimes. But we're coming along. Okay, I think that's done too. I've done this the correct way. I kept the blue. We're going to haul out this. The leaves, the background runs behind all these leaves. The moon is gone. The border's gone. Let me just recap here. The green leaves are isolated. The rest has to come off with a chisel. This one, this is the sepia block. That's isolated. The rest comes off. 2 leaves. Here's the darker brown. The leaves are done. The branches are done. I'm done with the cutting. It's now time to get out. Everybody seems to enjoy this. Get out Mr. Persuader. It's going to get noisy here. Step 1, zoom out a bit. Step 2, move the camera away from the bench so it doesn't bounce every time I hit the block. Excuse me for the jiggle. Bench hook here. Try and get a good camera angle. This is now going to get noisy, so I'm going to move my microphone off my chest here, which is right under the chisel. And I'm going to move it up half a meter away, up onto the light stand. So my voice might be getting a bit lighter, I'm sorry, but once I get this chisel started. The persuader. I didn't make that up, you know, that's a standard thing among, I think it's metal, whatever. People that are doing bolts and metal cutting and stuff, they have a persuader. What do I need? I need, so you can see it? I need my flat, wide chisel. That's going to be used to cut away quite wide areas of the block here. Before I can use that, I've got to isolate those areas. And I've got 2 chisels I use for that. These are round. They're what we call maru nomi. Maru is round. Nomi is chisel. This is asa maru, shallow round. You know, asaksa, asakusa, shallow grass. This is asa maru. I'll be using that first to delineate some of the areas. Then I've got a narrower, deeper maru nomi. It's about 6 millimeters, and I'll be using that to get into some areas the wide one doesn't go into. That's pretty much it for my clearing chisels. Put away the carving knife, which is now done for this print. Alright, what time is it? 9 o'clock. We've got time here. I won't be finishing all of them, so let's just grab one of them and do it. First step, I've got to switch my glasses. Glasses A to glasses B. You wait till you're 65. That's getting a bit old. Look at this. It goes in too far now. It's getting too worn. Hate to name. Time to make a new bench dog, obviously. Here we go. That's going to make noise. Get this out of the way. Okay, all set. Here we go. It's going to be noisy. Sorry. Is the camera stable? Seems okay. Yeah, good. And now without my glasses I can't read anything on this chat. I'm sorry. Very hard corner here. You see the darkness there. This is hard. Move my hand back on the hammer. Eh? Up. I was up here hammering, but now I need more power. Move your hand back more. I don't know. I forget the term, scientific term. Leverage. I hear a question, but I don't know if I can read it, and I've got the wrong glasses. Give me a minute here. Let me just finish this corner. Or not. Very dangerous. You can see the splits a knot here inside the wood. Very dangerous. Switch to the smaller chisel to get into those corners. More crap, the more wood I can get out of the way here with these chisels, the less I have to do at the next stage. But the closer I get to these lines, the more dangerous it is. So it's always a trade-off. Too close and whoops, too far away, too much work the next step. Alright, let's try a random question. I don't know. Oh, the listing from the other day. Somebody's asking. My friend here working for us, Kawaii-san, has got an eBay listing. Okay, maybe I can find it. Just a second. When did he come round? Here, I think it's here. It's just a copy link. I'm not sure if this is exactly the same link. It's, I don't know. There we go. When will this print be available? Yeah, I know. Soon. I know. As soon as I finish this, which will be like not tonight, but probably tomorrow, I'll be doing a test printing myself. And once I see my test printing, make sure we confirm we're okay, no mistakes. It'll be going on the website. I know. You can keep track of yourself. It'll be woodblock.com/gift is the page that this will be appearing sometime in a week or so. Woodblock.com/gift. What's on that page now is last year's gift print. Sorry to promo stuff. That's not what we're here for, but whatever. Answering questions. What time is it? Is it doorbell time coming up? Yeah, in a while, 5-10 minutes. Today, Shiba-san is in, and it's Shiba-san and Audrey today. Audrey's a young French girl who's training with us, but she doesn't. She can't run print parties by herself yet, and Shiba-san doesn't do English, so I'm going to be in the party room for most of today. It'll be fun. We had a blast. Monday was just such a blast. when it's one of those chaotic days, the people that are here pick up on it. You know, like there's maybe 7 or 8, 9, 10 people in the store. Those of you who've been here know that that's already way over capacity. People come up the stairs, they look through the window and like, I can't possibly go in there, can I? We gesture, come on in, and they come in and it gets crowded and it sort of just gets to be a overwhelmed, fun mood. And then I run back to the party room and they come out and they're happy. We show them. It's chaos, but it's fun. And today is looking like another one of those days. So. But man, we need more staff. Oh my God, we need more staff. Shiba-san, well, they should be here in a few minutes. You can say hello yourself. I know Shiba-san is sometimes late. She comes from a long way. It's over a 2-hour commute. Last week the trains had trouble the day she was here, so today, who knows, we'll see. So I should give the schedule for coming up to the end of the time here. I know today is Wednesday. The schedule, I've cut the lines on these, but as you can see, clearing. I've got 4 blocks to clear. It's going to take a while. So absolutely there will be a stream tonight, unless the store is so overwhelming that it just knocks me on my back. I'll try and be streaming tonight, continuing with this clearing. Depending on how that goes, my next step on this is a test print, which I'll do upstairs. I guess I'll try and arrange it so that it happens during one of the streaming times. It'll take more than a typical stream time, but whatever, we can see part of it. So today's Wednesday. Wednesday night, more clearing. Thursday, clearing and or test printing. And all with a question mark on top, because it's a very, very busy season for us now. So. And once I'm clear of this job, what will be next? There's what's waiting. The color separations for the Guardian print are still waiting. And oops, wrong way around. Any day now, Jed will be sending the New Year's card design. So anyway, we'll be doing what we're doing. Who knows? Oh, also, did I mention this? It's big news actually. Did I mention this on the Twitch stream the other day? Maybe, I don't remember. A friend of ours, John Amos, he's in Georgia, printmaker at the University of Georgia. He's in Hawaii this week for a big conference that's going on. And he emailed me as soon as he got off the plane. He was on Delta Airlines, flying from whatever, America to Hawaii. And he said, our movie, the movie that was made about us, the one they call The Art of the Game, the 90-minute movie about the Ukiyo Hero series, he said it's playing in the seatback entertainment system on Delta Airlines. I'm like, I didn't know about this. You know, we're in the movie, but they don't tell us anything about what they're doing with it. They're trying to sell it here and sell it there and sell it everywhere. And I've got no idea if this is in Delta's system inside America or all over the world or whatever, or just on that one route, or I don't know any details. But there we are. My movie, our movie, Ukiyo Heroes, The Art of the Game, is currently playing in a theater near you. It might be 5 miles over your head, but it's in a theater near you. So. I've only seen it once. I saw it once at that screening at the film festival in Toronto. He won't give me a DVD of it. He won't give me a dub. You'll copy it and send it. Like, it's my freaking movie. It's about me. And I've only ever seen it once. One day, I guess I'll have a chance. You know. Contracts, contracts, contracts. And it's also, of course, anybody watching from within Japan, he has released it on Netflix in Japan only at this point. And my understanding is that he doesn't want to do that. Netflix, I guess, is the last resort. They don't pay all that well or something. I don't know the details. And he had, I guess he tried to sell it to NHK or something here in Japan, and they said no, so his only resort was to go to Netflix. So it's on Netflix in Japan, and having a VPN or something doesn't help. It's Netflix bases it on your account. Like if you have an American, if you're a Netflix US customer, even if you're here in Japan, you don't get it. But if you're a Netflix Japan customer, even if you're in America, you get it. So it's based on where you pay your money from, not where you're sitting at the moment, as I understand it. So. What's next? It's a tough one. The wood grain wants me to come. We've talked about these things before many times. The wood grain wants me to go this way. But if I do this, of course, I'm going to run into this branch. So I would like to carve away from the branch, but the chisel will dig deep down into the wood. We can't do that. So we want to come half and half. If I come down here with the grain, semi with the grain, but if it starts to split, it splits into the branch. So I'm going to have to come like this. But this is against the grain. It's going to be digging down. But if it splits, it'll split away from the branch. Which way it's going to let me do it, I don't know. Either way, it's worse and worse. It's digging straight down. I've got to break it off. And we snap the wood there. Maybe even snap my chisel if I'm not careful. But the preserved wood stays. Yeah, look at this. Totally the wrong way. It's breaking. But at least I get the wood cut out. And here now, I've got no choice. We're going to go straight against the grain. So push down. I'm pushing down as hard as I can. Cutting just a bit. You can see it's terribly tearing, but we're getting wood away. I should get a second dog too. No idea what's happening in the chat. I can't read it with these glasses at all. I'm sorry. Lots of new members here. I guess what kind of wood do you use? How often can I answer the same questions, I guess? And hopefully other people in the chat can fill in some of those repeated questions, right? It's cherry wood for all traditional Japanese printing, cherry wood. We sometimes, very rarely, use boxwood for places where I need more strength, more detail. And I guess it's time. I didn't think of it before, but I guess I need an FAQ on the Twitch page to try and cover some of these more, more common questions. Although I don't know if people would see it or not, I don't know. Now that groove's out of there, I can cut some of this wood away without worrying about damaging the branch that's left in it. So this is now carving the correct way with the grain. It'll come away cleanly because there's an open channel. Okay, now that the areas are basically outlined, not outlined, but cleared, I can now switch to the big one and get back. And the ideal is we need to go back what we call 3 fingers, yubi sanbon. The distance of 3 fingers is roughly what we need so that we can brush the stuff without banging pigment on the waste wood. So just roughly yubi sanbon around the outside of the retained area. That's the knot split. The wood goes both ways. So. I hear rattling at the door down there. Audrey must be here first. She has no key. Shiba-san has the key. So excuse me a second. I got to go and crack the front door open so Audrey can get in. Excuse me just a moment. And we're coming to the end of the stream, but just let me get the door open. Excuse me. Yoisho. Where am I? What time is it? I can't see. No idea. Dirty enough. Okay, whatever. A couple more minutes of banging here. Till they come, I can do this anyway, so whatever. Look at that hole. Total mess, eh? It's a knot in the wood, so the wood won't carve either way. So we'll just try and clean it up a bit later on. Ugly thing to have in the block. It won't affect the print. It's a piece of wood that would have been thrown away, even, no, I'd say not in the old days being when I was here 10, 20 years ago. It would have been thrown away. But, now there's so little good wood, something I guess just gets used automatically. I gotta be careful, there's the key, there's the registration mark here, so don't cut it off, Dave. Registration mark. And here we go. And my real day begins. So, all of this up now doesn't count. Who's here? Shiba-san, good morning. Hello. 今鍵ちょうど開けたんですね。オードリーさんが先に来ると鍵持ってないですから。だからか開いてた。そう、だから今開けたんです。今もう5分前ぐらい開けたんです。あ、本当。Everybody's waiting for you here, Shiba-san. Say hello. I don't think you've seen Shiba-san for a few weeks, actually, right? Good morning.
当たってる当たってる Hello あ、じゃあ Hello Good morning
ごめん
Sorry
You're in there そう今日もビジーデイでしょパーティー多いですね
明日ないのにね
いや、一つ右入ったばっかりですからテイコさんが何神様に何か
水曜日に全部
わかんない月曜日は crazy 19人 We did 19 on Monday 19 so it's just insane at the end of the day I was just like give me a break
月曜日はね河合くんと
そう私と河合さんそう土井さんがお店の3年の間の一番高い売り上げがそうJapanese ね our shop we opened on November the 1st so we're coming up now almost 3 years and they talk about businesses and shops when you open a shop like the first 3 years is what counts they tell you most businesses fail in 3 years or whatever now our shop's a bit different because we have a backup business we have subscriptions we have online so it's not just a shop but that thing is still there 3 years and next November 1st is going to be 3 years for us we might do a party or something I don't know but Monday we had the busiest day ever on Monday in 3 years of business it was crowded it was fun it was happy and it was a good day business wise too so yeah anyway here we are it's 9:30 I have got to get busy now because I'm on party duty together with Shiba-san today she's a good girl she helps really well she does wonderful things but her English is very 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 broken and when there's as many people coming today as there are I have to be on duty in that room hey we've got a bunch of work done this morning unusual some of these streams have been really scrappy recently so thank you very much for watching tonight unless I'm dead from the shop tonight I should just be continuing this work tomorrow morning almost certainly I will be continuing this work tomorrow morning you're going to see more of the same thing happening and then tomorrow evening whatever more carving or we'll move to printing by then I'll read the chat later I'm sure I've missed 1,000 things here can't be helped that's life thanks for joining especially to new members thanks for having a look and I hope it's been worthwhile to you going to sign off now and get to work thank you again Where's my mic? And the stream is waiting for the day when Dave forgets that there's an open mic here and says things he shouldn't say. I did remember today. Bye bye guys.